All
Okay,
right.
we're on the air, huh?
Yes. Good evening, Gary. Good evening, Kai Kahele.
Aloha.
Aloha, everybody. Aria Juliet Castillo, Chair Kahele, Gary Hooser here, Policy and Politics. We're back again with this special guest and talking story about what's going on in our beautiful community and the state of Hawaii and the nation. Sometimes we'll get into that too. Uh, I think everybody who watches this show knows who I am. You know, I'm a former state senator, former council member, tutu man is what I'd like to say. I am now, former lots of things. Aria?
I am the Reclaiming Democracy Program Director for Hawaii Alliance for Progressive Action. I also am Assistant Treasurer for the Democratic Party of Hawaii. And we have a very special guest with us today, Chair of OHA, Office of Hawaiian Affairs, Kai Kahele.
Well, thanks, Gary. Great to see you again. And Aria, you as well. It's an honor to be here and to share this next hour with both of you and your audience. I am the chairperson of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, and I've been in this role now for a year. I started my 4-year term at OHA last November. Prior to that, I served in the United States Congress for 2 years as Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District Representative. And then prior to that, I spent about 5 years in the Hawaii State Senate representing my hometown of Hilo. I'm a Hilo boy from the Big Island, families from Miloli'i and South Kona. And on the side, I happen to fly airplanes. And I'm a commercial airline pilot for Hawaiian Airlines. So it's great to be here and looking forward to the next hour.
Right now, you're still flying with Hawaiian Airlines?
Yeah, full time. Still fly,
cool.
and I still serve as a part-time reservist in the United States Air Force. So those careers still continue for me.
Great. Yeah, thanks for joining us. You know, and we were talking earlier a little bit before the camera came on that, you know, I've been doing this politics stuff for quite a while, going on 20 years. And the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, OHA, is still a bit of a mystery for me. You know, I'm originally from California. I'm not Native Hawaiian. And I go to vote. You know, sometimes I hesitate. Well, am I supposed to vote? You know, or is this only for Hawaiians? So I've learned to vote.
Yeah.
But I don't really know. And a lot of people out there, it's a mystery. So tell us a little bit, if you could, about maybe a little background, a little history. What exactly the Office of Hawaiian Affairs is responsible for and does?
Well, it's a good question, Gary, and it's one that we answer almost every day. What is OHA? What does OHA do for me? Why does OHA even exist? Why can everybody vote in the OHA election? When did that change? And should I even care about what the Office of Hawaiian Affairs is, or who these 9 elected trustees are that serve as OHA trustees? So that's a good question. The answer to that question is rooted in history, and you need to go back to, I think, January 17th, 1893, and I'll give you a real quick historical framework for it, because it gets to answering your question of what is OHA. So on January 17, 1893, on the day that the Kingdom of Hawaii was illegally overthrown by the provisional government, the Committee of Safety, supported by the United States military through the United States Marines, illegally confiscated over 1 million acres of land in the Hawaiian Islands, in the Kingdom of Hawaii on that day. There were 2 distinct portions of land. One portion of land was land that was owned by the Crown, Queen Lilukalani, her royal lands. The other portion of lands were government lands of the Kingdom of Hawaii. And both of those buckets of lands were confiscated by the Committee of Safety, which became the provisional government, which became the Republic of Hawaii, which ultimately became the territory of Hawaii in 1898 at annexation. Those lands were ceded to the United States of America as a condition of annexation in 1898. And through the Organic Act in 1900, the United States recognized the nature of these lands and how they became part of the Republic of Hawaii, eventually ceded to the United States at annexation. And so in 1900, through the Organic Act, they created a public trust. where over 1 million acres of these lands were held. Now, that public trust of lands were held from 1900 until 1959, when Hawaii became a state. Through for almost 50 years, lands were taken out of that pot of land. 203,000 were taken out to create the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act. Another 350,000 were taken out by the United States of America to develop military bases and converted to federal lands. But at the admission of the territory of Hawaii into the Union as a condition of statehood, the United States, through the Admissions Act and public law that was passed in March of 1959, put a significant amount of these lands into a public land trust. And they created that trust with 5 public trust purposes, one of them being the bettering of the conditions of Native Hawaiians as defined by the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act. And so these lands are now transferred to the new state of Hawaii. They total about 1.5 million acres or so. And they're held in trust, a fiduciary trust by the new state of Hawaii to better the conditions of Native Hawaiians. From 1959 to 1978, really nothing was done in terms of revenues generated from these specific lands, these lands that we call the ceded lands, public land trust. So in 1970, the majority of those revenues from 59 to 78 had gone to the Department of Education for public education. Well, in 1978, the state had a constitutional convention. And this is at the apex of the Hawaiian Renaissance that started in Kalama Valley, Kaho'olawe, Hokulea. There's a lot of things happening in Hawaii in the late 1970s. I'm sure you can remember, Gary. And the state opens the Constitution. The last time it has ever done so since 1978. And through that, there's a number of really important things for the Native Hawaiian community. One of them, Olelo Hawaii is designated as the state's official language, along with English. Second thing, the state's water code is created because of water issues that had been spilling over from the plantation era. The third thing, traditional and customary practices are enacted as part of the state's constitution. And the fourth, and a very important one, was the creation of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs as a receptacle for revenues from the public land trust to better the conditions of all Native Hawaiians. Because in the Admissions Act, it only specified Native Hawaiians as defined by the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act, which was based on blood quantum. 50% blood quantum or greater, what we refer to as the small n. If you look at the Admissions Act, Native Hawaiian is spelled with a small n. The state's constitution was created, the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, to benefit not just the small n's, but the big N as well, meaning all Native Hawaiians. So today, OHA is an independent, autonomous state agency that is the principal voice for the Native Hawaiian people and is the receptacle for revenues generated by the public land trust. And OHA's existence is to better the conditions of Native Hawaiians. So today that organization is led by 9 trustees. There's about 130 people statewide that staff the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. We're the 13th largest landowner in the state. We have a Native Hawaiian Trust Fund that is almost to $700 million. We have an annual budget of $130 million over the fiscal biennium. And the 2 most important things that OHA does, Gary and Aria, is advocacy and grants. We are not a direct service agency. We fund nonprofits. We fund organizations that better the conditions of Native Hawaiians. And we have an advocacy team that does the good work that we need to do in the community as it relates to iwi kupuna, military lease lands, NAGPRA. We're a designated agency on NAGPRA, the National Association of Graves, and that act, I can't think of the acronym, but NAGPRA. We are a co-trustee for Papahanao Mokuakea and the National Marine Monument. And so OHA does a significant amount of work in the community to better the lives of the conditions of Native Hawaiians. And that would be all Native Hawaiians, regardless of blood quantum. We receive approximately $21.5 million a year from the state in public land trust revenues. It's nowhere near what we should be receiving, but that is what the legislature has determined. And about 20 years ago, there was a lawsuit when a rancher named Freddie Rice sued the state, and it ultimately went to the United States Supreme Court because he was a non-Hawaiian and he wanted to vote in the OHA election. And up until then, from 1978 until the early 2000s, only Native Hawaiians could vote for OHA. That's how the constitutional amendment that created OHA, ultimately what became Chapter 10 of the Hawaii Revised Statutes, specified. But Freddie Rice sued, case went to the Supreme Court, and he won. And the reason is because the state Office of Elections administers the OHA election as well. And because taxpayer funds are used to fund the state elections, the Supreme Court determined that excluding non-Hawaiians from participating in the OHA election that is being funded by state taxpayer funds is unconstitutional, is race-based. And so today, everybody can vote for OHA, and everyone across the state votes for OHA. Besides the office of the governor and lieutenant governor and our 2 United States senators, OHA trustees are the other statewide elected officials in this state. Does that make sense? Does that help, Gary?
That was great. No, that was really, really good. I don't think I've part of it is just taking the time for someone to sit down and hear it and listen, and you know it well. So thank you so much. The OHA is independent from the governor.
It is.
Is that correct?
OHA is often called the fourth branch of government. It is independent of the governor.
Right.
It is why when you see the state of the state address, and there's only a certain individuals on the rostrum behind the governor when the governor is addressing the state. You will see the state Senate president and the Speaker of the House, the 2 leaders of the legislative branch. You will see the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, which is the leader of the judicial branch, and you will see the chairperson of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, which is the leader of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs as the governor is speaking. So OHA is an independent branch of government. It is unique in the state of Hawaii. No other state in the nation has an entity like OHA. OHA has constitutional power. It's not just statutory. It is constitutional. The people of Hawaii ratified the state's constitution in 1978. And so this is the will of the people, that the Native Hawaiian community, the Native Hawaiian people, the indigenous Native Hawaiians of these islands has a representative voice, and it is the Office of Hawaiian Affairs.
So to vote, you don't have to be Native Hawaiian. You can be anybody can vote for trustees. But
as the Supreme Court has determined, the United States Supreme Court, anybody can vote in OHA, and until we are able to do something differently, that's usually how it is. Now, the issue with that is, Gary, is the OHA elections usually have the highest amount of blank votes, because there are some people that, even though you can vote in the OHA election, they feel it's not their role to vote. And that's respectable. I admire that. But at the same time, these elected trustees are administering a almost $1 billion trust. If you take its cash value assets and its land assets, it has major statutory and constitutional power. It has a fiduciary responsibility to the public land trust. And so I would encourage, at least for now, everybody to vote for OHA until we can get a different way forward.
Kai, as a non-Hawaiian, I'm born and raised in Hawaii, I see the extreme benefit of the well-being of Native Hawaiians that would uplift everybody in Hawaii, regardless of being Native Hawaiian or not. As if we can house all of our Native Hawaiians, then our housing crisis would probably be getting solved. If we can be more economically independent from the mainland, all of our economics would be better. So I feel like just as the well-being of OHA is really important to strengthening everyone in Hawaii. So I really appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah, no, we feel the same way. And, it is important because Native Hawaiians were dispossessed and were marginalized in their own homeland just a few decades after the illegal overthrow of the Hawaiian Kingdom. That marginalization, in some respects, still continues today. Native Hawaiians still represent almost 40% of the state's incarcerated, the highest rate of incarceration in the state, Native Hawaiians, the highest rate of health diseases and effects, lack of housing, lack of educational opportunities. So, we like to say what benefits Native Hawaiians benefits the state and benefits everyone. But we also feel like there is a moral responsibility on behalf of the state towards Native Hawaiians, and it's explicitly called out in the state's constitution. And so, OHA works really hard, and it has struggled. OHA is approaching its almost 50-year anniversary in 2028, and it has struggled. But I think it has done a lot of good for Native Hawaiians, and it continues to.
Yeah, no, this is a good education for me. And again, I've been doing this for a while. Shame on me for not digging into it deeper earlier.
That's okay. And Gary, that's our goal. OHA struggles often to answer that question. We have to do a better job, like everyone else, in communication and messaging and targeting that message to the right audience. I know we'll get into it a little bit later, but OHA is about to embark on the most comprehensive public educational campaign it's ever done in its history, centered on the state military lease land issue as it relates to these soon-to-be expiring land leases. And I know we'll get to that in a second, but we're about to start community listening and educational sessions and forums statewide starting next week in Hilo.
Let's jump into that now. It sounds like a good pivot point.
Sounds good.
You're a Big Island guy, born and raised.
Yeah. You're
elected to represent Hawaii County in OHA. You represented them in the Senate and in Congress, and you're the chair of OHA. So in terms of Pohakuloa specifically, it seemed like you would be the go-to guy. You have family roots there. You have cultural roots there. You have political roots there. You grew so tell us what OHA is embarking on and what you think is moving forward.
Gary, my dad worked at Pohakuloa from 1977 to the early 2000s. I was a little kid, and I'd ride in my dad's truck and go up there to the base on the weekends because he was the director of public works, and had to handle everything facilities wise. My dad had a special connection and relationship to that place and to Mauna Kea. He used to walk the water line from Lake Waiau all the way to the base every year to inspect the water line that at one time fed the base. It's why the Mauna Kea Park is named after him today, because of his efforts in that special Wahipana area. So it does have a special place in my heart, that entire area. And I do bring a unique voice and perspective to this issue because of my previous experience, not just as a 24-year now commissioned officer in the United States military, but also someone that served at the state level, chaired the Waterland Committee, and then served in Congress on the House Armed Services Committee for 2 years and helped co-write the National Defense Authorization Act twice. And so I bring a unique perspective that has really never existed at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, and given the platform, being the chairperson of the board and entrusted with that responsibility, I'm able to articulate this issue and explain it in a way to the community that is very understandable, and presenting the various different scenarios that we have ahead of us as a state. And this, Gary, I really believe, and I sat through the 30-meter telescope issue when I was in the state Senate in Mauna Kea. I had a front row seat on the Red Hill fuel crisis as a member of Congress, and was one of the first members of the delegation to call out the United States Navy and lead the effort on Red Hill. First member of Congress in the history of the delegation to call for the full and complete return of Makua Valley to the Leandra Vai Act and the full remediation of Makua Valley. And so here we are today with these leases. And like I said, we're going to start a serious public information campaign. We already have. You can go to OHA, aloha@oha.org and view the website that we launched last Thursday, which is a comprehensive educational website, webpage resource for the community on this issue. Because, Gary, it's not just Pohakuloa. It is also Makua, Kahuku, the Po'omoho lands on Oahu. It's the Pacific Missile Range facility and the Koke'e Geophysical Technical Park on your island, on Kauai. It is Kaena Point and the United States Air Force. All of these leases are expiring between 2028 and 2031. So it is not just Pohakuloa.
Were you surprised when the EIS was rejected for Pohakuloa?
I was not surprised because I, like many others, felt that the Army did not do enough in their EIS. OHA called for a kapa'akai analysis. It called for a more comprehensive archaeological inventory survey. It called for the analysis of what training and live fire training would do on the environment and what role it played with the state leased lands that are there, these ceded lands, part of the public land trust. And so none of those things were adequately addressed by the United States Army. And it's why the Board of Land and Natural Resources voted to not only reject the Pohakuloa EIS, but also the Oahu EIS as well.
I was surprised, quite frankly, because I don't remember the Board of Land and Natural Resources rejecting very many EISs. So it must have been a really bad one.
Yeah.
Hats off to the staff, because the staff there are the ones that did the deep analysis and said, no way, this is faulty, this is flawed, this is below par, we can't accept it.
Yeah, kudos to the land division and the other divisions at DLNR who did the heavy lifting on that work. Also, kudos to the community who came out and provided overwhelming testimony, and other stakeholders like OHA who have standing on this issue. At the end of the day, Chair Chang, the chair of DLNR, and the chairperson of the Board of Land Natural Resources, I think spoke in a very strong way that this was inadequate and it didn't meet Chapter 343 and HEPA, the Hawaii Environmental Protection Act, and some of those important analysis that needed to be done. So now it's up to the Army, right? They can go back to the drawing board, they can redo their EIS, they can address concerns that were made by the land board, and then come back to the Board of Land Natural Resources and report those new findings or what they decide to do concerning the EIS. And why the EIS? The EIS is important for a couple of things. One, you need a new EIS if you want a new lease. And you're also going to need a new EIS if you want to do a land exchange between some type of federal land versus state land. And those two options are possible options for these leased lands, not just at Pohakuloa, but statewide.
Yeah. In another life, I was director of OE2C and worked on Chapter 343 quite a bit myself.
I was a executive director of a nonprofit in Miloli'i when you were there, and we were doing an EIS to build a community center. So I remember your name.
Okay. There's a controversial element of this that I'm going to raise right now. I talk to a lot of people, that the environmental communities all concerned about, the environment, the Red Hill people, the Native Hawaiian community, of course, and there's different factions and there's all these different groups. And what I hear sometimes is, and there's a governor, of course, and I hear, I'll just use the word, it's a money grab. Everyone wants a piece of the pie. So it's inevitable, the Army's going to take it, and so we might as well get as much as we can for our budget to do our stuff. And so there's different organizations, different state departments, and then I have to say it was refreshing to see OHA's position. And it seemed clear to me that OHA, I started to say you, but I'll say OHA, you and OHA do not support or support stopping the live fire.
That is true.
And as a military man, there's that in the back of your mind saying, wait a second, he's a military guy and he's probably concerned about China and all these people coming in, and we have to train our military people. But it was very refreshing to hear that being one of your fundamental planks. Would you say that's a line in the sand?
Yeah, it was. I mean, we adopted that as part of our 2026 legislative package. We have that bill drafted. That will be a constitutional amendment that will be proposed in the upcoming legislature. It will require 2/3 of the legislature's support to put that question on the ballot. And that question simply asks, should live fire training be allowed in the state of Hawaii on its public trust lands? Yes, no. And we really feel that this question, Gary, is one that no single individual should answer, not even the legislature or OHA. This should be a question that the people of Hawaii are given an opportunity to weigh in on in 2025, right? Does live fire military training, and we're talking the type of training that does significant environmental damage to the environment, up at Poakaloa on the base of Mauna Loa. We're talking heavy artillery, 155, 777, HIMARS rockets, the type of training that's being actively used for organized training and equipping our soldiers and Marines. Should that be allowed in Hawaii today? And I think that's a fundamental question that the people of Hawaii should be prepared to answer. I talked about this earlier up at the Hawaiian Council's convention. Gary, we can't parrot Aloha Aina and Malama Aina and not address the effects and in some cases the desecration of that Aina through live fire military training and decades of either exploded ordnance or unexploded ordnance. And what's important, Gary, is supporting the prohibition of live fire training in Hawaii does not make you anti-military. Does not say you don't support the United States military, because there's a significant amount of other things in Hawaii that the United States military does. We're just saying live fire training, launching military heavy artillery weapons into our Aina has no place in the state of Hawaii and in the Hawaiian Islands anymore. And that's the question that I think is important. I think, though we can't control what happens on federal lands, Gary, I also think we should be prohibiting live fire training on islands like Ka'ula, which are just off of Kauai, and anywhere else in the Hawaiian Islands. And that's something that the people of Hawaii should be given an opportunity to weigh in on. And I hope the legislature supports it.
Can we talk a little bit about OHA's role in the governor's proposal that he's, I think a lot of people were kind of caught off guard that the governor came out and said he was negotiating directly with the Army and came up with this very escalated timeline when the leases aren't up for a couple more years. But he says he wants to solve this by the end of the year. And you would imagine, I would imagine that the governor would take these conversations very seriously and engage with our state legislature, with OHA, with other organizations. But it seems like that didn't happen.
I think it is a major mistake and a major strategic error for our governor to attempt to negotiate this unilaterally without any robust public discussion, consultation with the Native Hawaiian community, with OHA, with the legislature. The lands let's just talk Pohakaloa. The lands at Pohakaloa, these 23,000 acres of lands that are ceded land and also lands of the public land trust. Because there are two different things. The public land trust lands, which is the 23,000 acres is in, was created by Congress through the Admissions Act. It is public law. Was adopted in our state's constitution. So there is both federal law and state law that create this public trust, which means, Aria, all of us have a fiduciary duty to the public land trust, the governor, the legislature, the judiciary, OHA, and the people of Hawaii, to cede the 23,000 acres and exchange it for federal land, to even if you're the United States, to come in and attempt to seize this land or condemn this land through the Fifth Amendment, which gives the United States a power of condemnation, would be going against the Admissions Act and an already act of Congress that created the public land trust where these lands sit. That is why the governor has a fiduciary duty to the public land trust. So does the people of Hawaii, OHA, the legislature, and the judiciary. And that's really important. And so we were surprised when we learned about the negotiations that were happening, if they were happening. You know, we have not, OHA has not heard in writing or being spoken by any representative of the federal government, whether it's the Department of Justice or the Department of Defense, Department of War. We have not heard from anyone from the federal government who has ever said anything, or at least put it in writing, that condemnation or seizure of these lands before the end of the year is on the table. The only person who has said this is the governor of the state of Hawaii. And we have grave concerns over that statement, period, and also the lack of consultation, which is why you've seen OHA take a more aggressive stance in the last few weeks or so. You know, we appreciate the work the governor is doing, but we are strongly encouraging him to include OHA. We are encouraged that the governor created a Native Hawaiian or a mostly Native Hawaiian advisory group. He announced those names last week. OHA's own interim administrator, Summer Silva, is part of that group. So we mahalo the governor for giving OHA and our administrator a seat on that advisory committee. But that's just a start. And we have, OHA has asked to be on the governor's joint negotiating team and to co-chair the technical advisory group alongside the Department of Land and Natural Resources. And we will not hold back from those requests. We believe those requests are reasonable, and we hope the governor honors that and gives OHA the seat at the table and a voting seat at the table.
Thank you for that. You know, you'd mentioned the responsibilities of OHA in the state and the legislature, and I just want to repeat one of my favorite parts of the Constitution is Article 11, which says the state and all of its political subdivisions. The state and all of its political subdivisions, which is all you guys, shall preserve and protect these lands. And I don't see how that could be interpreted by bombing or using live fire or desecrating or degrading these lands over and over and over again, year after year after year. It just cannot be compliant with the Constitution. And so the one thing I want to bring up here and get your thoughts on too is the governor and this committee seem to be formed to come up with the criteria to lease the lands rather than starting at ground zero. Do we want to lease these lands or not? You know, no action alternative, so to speak. And that's what's disappointing to me. It's not, no one's really talking about that. They're talking about, well, how much are we going to get, or where's going to get? We're going to get housing, we're going to get geothermal, we're going to get this, or we're going to get that. And I would hope there would be a broader community conversation about the military has 200,000 acres they already control in Hawaii. That's as much or more than DHHL right now. So would you speak to that? I mean, how can anyone possibly put all this together in 30 days?
It's not possible to do that, and it would be doing a disservice to the people of Hawaii to even attempt that. You know, there is a process. Even if the United States wanted to exercise its power of condemnation over these lands, there is a process to do that. There is a diligence process that needs to be followed. There is fair market value that needs to be determined. Much of this is in the Fifth Amendment that explains this, and then also Title 10 of the U.S. Code that gives the service secretaries a role in this. Congress also has a notification and an advisory role as well. So it seems highly unlikely this is going to happen before the end of the year. I don't know why that keeps coming out of this administration, which is it's hard to understand. But in any case, OHA stands ready to do what we need to do to protect the public land trust. And why we are not starting at ground zero and the no action alternative is partly probably because the Army, at least in its preferred alternatives, has said they would like to at least continue to utilize a portion of these lands, a smaller footprint moving forward. OHA will always, and I feel pretty confident saying that the board would always oppose dispossession of these lands. And part of the reason why, Gary, is if these lands were to be exchanged or traded.
Dispossession means?
Dispossession means either ceding or condemning these lands, forcibly taking them away from the state, or the state trading these lands for some other lands. Because of the public land trusts and the special relationship that Native Hawaiians have to these lands. Remember, these lands were lands of the Kingdom of Hawaii. They were either crown lands or government lands. And so Native Hawaiians have a special, unique role and rekuleana to these lands. And OHA holds that very, very dearly. And so if these lands were to be dispossessed and became part of the federal land inventory, why that's important, Gary, is the state of Hawaii would never have a say ever on what happens on those lands. I'll go back to the Clarence Koo lawsuit against DLNR, where the Supreme Court ruled that DLNR had breached its fiduciary role in holding the United States government to its lease terms for these lands at Pohakaloa. DLNR was found that they did not follow the terms of the lease. So DLNR is able to enact conditions, environmental conditions, use conditions, cultural conditions on these lands as it exists today, because they are state lands. But if these lands are taken out of the state inventory and made federal lands, we would never have a say ever what happens on them ever again. And in a current political environment where we have the leader of the free world talking about resuming nuclear testing, who knows what this administration would want to do at Pohakaloa. The bottom line is the people of Hawaii would never, ever have a say again of what happens there. And it could even go down to the simple thing of cultural access. Having a chance to go there to practice your traditional customary rights could be allowed or could be not allowed, depending on who's president, who's the commander of the base. While they remain state lands, we have leverage at the table as it relates to the native species there. There are 26 species there, some found nowhere else in the world. There's cultural artifacts, there's iwi kupuna. We won't have any say ever if they are federal lands. And that is why we will always oppose dispossession of those lands, Gary.
Got it. No. Oh, man. So speaking from, I know when I talk to people about all kinds of issues, the question that always comes up is, Gary, what can we do? What can I do as an individual? Yeah. What should I do? Whether you live on which island or what, you go to school, you're retired. How can you, what advice or suggestions or could you tell these people?
Get smart. That's the first thing. Watch this video. Go to oha.org/aloha aina and attend one of our public community workshops that we are going to start rolling out statewide. If you're in Hilo, you can come to Hilo next week, Wednesday, November 26th, 6 p.m., University of Hawaii at Hilo at UCB 100. I personally will be delivering the presentation for OHA. You got to get smart. Our community needs to get educated on this issue, because when you get educated, you get empowered. When you get empowered, you have a voice. And everyone in Hawaii should have a voice on this issue. And so that, I think, would be the most important thing. We launched our website because it didn't exist anywhere. It was just a hodgepodge of things all over the place. The governor's site, commend the governor for launching his site at engage.hawaii.gov. But we wanted to take it another step. We wanted to raise the bar and educate the community. And so we launched our website last week. We had over 1,000 site visits this weekend. There's an anonymous community survey at the bottom where you can answer a series of anonymous questions on how you feel about this issue. But the most important thing is you got to get educated, Gary. And OHA is going to step into the breach, and it is going to do that. And it is going to be in community, and it's going to do our best to educate everyone on this issue so they can make well-informed decisions. And we hope that this gives us an opportunity to start reestablishing our credibility, start rebuilding trust within the community, because we know, we do have a little ways to go on those issues, Gary, as well.
Okay, so get educated, and then Hilo, that's going to be an in-person and online too.
In person. We're putting together the opportunity to stream it, but in any case, it will be recorded. It'll live on our website. But if you're in Hilo next week Wednesday, come down to UH Hilo, UCB 100, and it'll be a live 2-hour long, probably in 45 minutes to an hour of education, followed by about an hour or so of Q&A, of question and answers, and listening on behalf of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs and the broader community. We're also inviting members geographically of the Governor's Advisory Commission or committee. And so as we come to your town, as we come to your island, we're going to be including those individuals that are sitting on the Governor's Advisory Committee, because we need to make sure that they're as educated as we are on this issue. Because like I said, Gary, it's not just Pakaloa. It's the Oahu training lands. It's the PMRF lands at Kauai. It's lands that are held by other services. This is a multi-service issue. Army, Navy, Air Force. What happens to one branch potentially can happen to the other branches, which is why condemnation and seizure is something that should make all of us very, very worried. It is not OHA's role to put fear in the community. We don't want to do that, but we want to educate and empower, and we want to talk to the realities of what we're dealing with, which for me, Gary, is probably the biggest issue of my generation on this. To me, it's bigger than Mauna Kea. It's bigger than the 30-meter telescope, because it directly includes the federal government. And it would be unprecedented for the United States of America in 2025 to condemn and to seize lands of the state of Hawaii, of the former Kingdom of Hawaii, lands that have a special relationship to the Public Land Trust, to Native Hawaiians. It would be unprecedented. And it's why we all need to come together and get ready to make your voice heard and get organized on this issue.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And these meetings are for everybody, Hawaiian, not non-Hawaiian, Hawaiian. People that care.
We got to have a big tent. This is not a Native Hawaiian issue. This is a all of Hawaii issue, right? If you are pro Hawaii, anti condemnation, we can just start there, and if we can agree on those two things, then I think we can do a lot together. This is a big tent issue, and we encourage Hawaiians and non-Hawaiians to come out, because this is going to affect you, and it's going to affect your children and the next generation of Hawaii. And it's important that we make the right decision. Gary, I went up to Hamilton Library, where the congressional papers live, in a private, secure facility. And I've got a little bit of papers there, 2 years of congressional papers housed there. But what I did have a chance to do was review the papers of Senator Inouye and Senator Kaka. And I have a whole treasure trove of documents from 1963 when they were dealing with this very same issue. On our website is a letter from Senator Inouye as a young United States Senator in 1963 to President Kennedy. You can read it. It's on our website at oha@alohaina.org. It gives you an insight into even what Senator Inouye and how he was feeling as these lands were being set aside for military use. So the point is, Gary, I don't think they could have ever envisioned 65 years later the generation who would be dealing with this issue today, but we are here. They are not here with us today. They've halad, they've gone to heaven, but we are here dealing with their choices, and we need to make sure that the choices we make today, that 65 years from now, our children and the next generation of people in Hawaii, the next generation of leaders, can live with the decisions that we made and look back on what choices we made and be proud of the choices that we made. And that's why we're doing the hard work we're doing today.
I wanted to, you just recently made a really beautiful keynote address at the Hawaiian Council Convention title, and you published this on your Substack, and it's called Building the Nation We Are Becoming.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
That was an important speech, and it was the first time that I knew I was going to address an audience of this type, since I had, unsuccessfully ran for governor 2 years ago. Most people probably weren't sure of where I went from 2023 to 2025, and then I reemerged at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. And so this was an opportunity, Aria, for me to share my thoughts on how I felt at the convention as it related to the Native Hawaiian community and the broader community, the diaspora, and those that have left Hawaii and had relocated to the mainland, and what the future would look like and could look like for Native Hawaiians. And one of the charges and messages I had was to live as if the nation already exists, in your mind, in your practice, what you do every day, how you live your life and raise your families, and that was really important. And so it was good. I put a lot of thought into it and worked on it because I knew it was going to be a primetime opportunity, and I knew the message needed to be felt and received by those that were at the convention, and those that weren't, that watched it or read about it later.
Aria sent that to me earlier, the speech. So thank you, Aria, because that was, I read it, and it was inspiring. Thank you for those words. And it resonated with me because I think similarly that we need to be self-sufficient, food self-sufficiency, energy self-sufficiency. Yeah. We can be independent as a state and a nation, but we have the capacity to do that. With this stuff going on in the Trump administration, and we could be a model. That's what I see at this Pohakaloa military. We can be a model for the world, for the planet.
At the end of the day, you need leadership. You need leadership to do that. You need a vision. You need a leader who can bring that vision to fruition. No one individual can do it alone, but it requires leadership. And I have confidence that there are leaders out there in Hawaii that can do that. I definitely have a lot more runway left in my life, and I hope to be one of those as well, working with others. But we can. I really believe we can do that, and we can do it in this generation that we're in right now. We just need to have the right leaders take us there. And Gary, they don't have to be leaders that are in elected office, right? You can be a leader in your own community. You can be a leader in a nonprofit. You can be a leader in one of our elite trusts or our non-elite trusts or entities. It just takes someone to bring us all together. And it's exciting times for Hawaii, but also very, very challenging times.
Yeah, I agree. And I've got some runway left on me too.
That's right. That's right.
And Aria, I'm looking at you, girl. You're the my inspiration. One of my inspirations for the future leadership. So thank you so much. And I like to think that vast majority of people were good people, but some of us look at the world through a different lens.
Yeah.
And make different choices. And so I'm hopeful that Governor Green will step back and take a deep breath and realize, well, maybe he jumped the gun a little bit on this. Maybe he's trying to do the right thing, but maybe he jumped the gun. Maybe he rushed into it, and that he'll step back and rethink and take the time and the community outreach to listen to the entire community, you at OHA, and the entire community across the oceans here, and rethink this going forward. And I'm hopeful that that he might come there. He is a governor. He's going to be there for a while.
Yep. Yeah,
So-
and I can't imagine what it's like to be in his shoes, because he's not only dealing with this issue, he's dealing with running the state and all the other issues that are affecting the state of Hawaii as well. And I think, and I know his heart is there and in the right place, and he's trying to make the best decisions he can with the information that he has and the team that he's surrounded himself with. We're doing our role to ensure that he knows that there are other voices and other areas of expertise that are available, that want to be part of the solution, that can be part of the solution, and I think he'll be receptive to that. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I have confidence. He is our governor, and we need to support him. At the same time, we're all elected officials, and we got to be held accountable for our choices, and that's the democracy we live in. And it's we're not out there to make too much trouble, but we also, there's good trouble to be made too, and some very dear friends of ours have coined that before, right? There's good trouble to be made,
right.
And so
That's right.
It's good, all good. We're working together.
Good.
Well, what's next on Kauai, Gary? Well, how's things going over there?
Things are going. My life, I'm blessed. I think most of us are. But Kauai's good. Aria's born and raised over here. She lives in Honolulu now. I keep trying to drag her back.
Yeah.
I have my son and his family are here, and it's.
Do you get the sense? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gary.
No, what'd you say?
I was just going to ask. Do you get the sense that the people of Kauai are focused at all on the military lease land issue as it relates to PMRF, or has it not really crossed their radar yet?
I think, generally speaking, it hasn't crossed the radar yet.
Okay.
We, like a lot of communities across the world, across Hawaii and the continent, we've lost to a great extent our daily news. The Garden Island newspaper is, they run my column every week.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that they're there. But the amount of original reporting, the amount of reporters who are working for them just to do local news is almost non-existent. And so you don't read about it. You don't hear about it except on social media. Or
from Ron Wiley.
Oh, yeah. But I did, read the EIS and look over it, and I'm concerned.
Yeah.
There's live ordnance. There's live ordnance here also that's transported. Right. I don't know where it's blown up at, but it's referred to in the EIS. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the PMRF and NASA have partnered on this EIS, and that has not come before the land board yet. But they did come to OHA, and we did appreciate the United States Navy coming to present to the OHA board. Their EIS is published online, and they are working through, I think, the public comments that they received to be able to finalize an EIS, finalize their preferred action, and then bring that in front of the land board for its review. Clearly, they are watching the United States Army and their leases on Oahu and the Big Island, not wanting to, result in the same outcome. And so I think they're taking lessons learned from that. But I'd be happy to come over to Kauai, Gary, and do a community presentation out in East Kauai, West Kauai. We can do multiple ones, whatever, to educate the community on this. Because in the event that the PMRF EIS is rejected by the land board, and I'm not saying it will be, but if it is, that's going down the same path as all these other leases.
Right.
And that's important for the community to take note of on Kauai.
No, I agree. And let's talk about that. I'd love to have you come over and support that in any way that I can, if it's useful. Another troubling thing underneath all this stuff is the Secretary of War and the what's it called, the umbrella of missile defense that they're going to expand, and Hawaii will for sure play a role in that. and I would think PMRF is going to be right there, and then the increased testing of nuclear testing, and the mindset that sits in Washington D.C. is scary and unstable, in my opinion.
Yeah, you know, PMRF. I'm sorry, Aria, go ahead. No,
Could
go
you
ahead.
just talk a little bit about, you know, Hawaii has had a history of supporting a defense department, and they've been kind of proud in, you know, saying that we have a strong defense. But now that it's the Department of War, to me, the optics and the mentality around that seems like it's going to be a little bit different.
It is, and you can just see by the mobilization of forces in the Caribbean, near Venezuela, and what's happening there. Forces in the Western Pacific that we have with our partners and allies. You know, Hawaii is going to play a critical role in that, and always has. I mean, ever since the United States wanted to establish Pu'uloa, or what was formerly today is now known as Pearl Harbor, as a coaling station. The military has had a presence in the Hawaiian Islands ever since. And, you know, obviously it was a major part of World War II. It was a major logistics hub and a military hub on the doorstep of the Western Pacific. It helped successfully win World War II for the Allies. But, you know, it plays a major role in the national defense strategy of the United States, and we've got a lot. There's a lot of military here in Hawaii, and it will probably continue to be that way for quite some time, because many of the military bases that exist today are all on federal land that, like I said earlier, was taken under federal control between annexation and statehood. And so these lands are federal lands. They're all ceded lands and former lands of the Kingdom of Hawaii, but they are today controlled and occupied by the United States military.
So you're a military officer, is that correct?
Yeah.
So there's a balance there, or there's your oil responsibilities, your military, your commander in chief is President Trump.
Yep.
And I understand that. I kind of get that. I was raised in a military family. My father was a career chief boatswain's mate, a Navy man, and that's what brought me to Hawaii in 1970. I grew up on military bases. And I understand it puts military officers in a difficult position sometimes, talking about the commander in chief and Secretary of War, I can imagine that would be awkward and difficult to balance those responsibilities.
Historically, the military is apolitical. You know, we don't pick sides, and we are apolitical. And there are major federal laws and Hatch Act and a whole bunch of things that prevent military service members, whether you are under Title 10, active duty, Title 32, under state control, if you're a guardsman, a member of the National Guard, that restrict what you can or can't do. So typically the military has been apolitical. It has gotten more politicized, no doubt, in the last few years, especially under the current administration. At the end of the day, you know, we do the job that we were hired and selected to do. You know, Gary, in that 2-year gap between 2023 when I left Congress and 2024 when I came back to public service, I spent 2 years at the United States Army War College, working on my master's degree and studying war and the history of war. And I learned a lot there about our role and what has historically been our role in the nation's defense. And so I bring that experience and skill set to this issue as well. My dad was a Marine, kind of like your dad, and served proudly in the United States Marines. He always told me he was a proud Marine, a proud Native Hawaiian, but he also had a unique balancing act as well, especially being there at Puakaloa for over 30 years. And so, you know, I got to see the world through his eyes, and I've obviously developed my own positions and perspectives through the last few years being in elected office. And I think for whatever reason, I'm here at the right time, and I'm able to lead the Office of Hawaiian Affairs and be a voice in the state for the people on this issue, because the people should always have the issue. I'm a big proponent of consent of the governed. One of the pinnacles and foundations of our Constitution is that government derives its power from the consent of the governed. At the end of the day, the people are who we serve. The people are what make a thriving democracy. And on this issue, the people need to make their voice heard. And OHA is going to do its very best to educate them and empower them and give them a voice on this issue.
Great. You'd mentioned Senator Dan Inouye and Congressman Akaka or Matsunaga. I forget which one.
Senator Akaka and Senator Matsunaga, Sparky Matsunaga.
And it brings to mind the Sparky Matsunaga Institute of Peace.
Yeah.
And my hope would be that conversation or perspective would be brought into the conversation as well.
Yeah.
How does Hawaii play a role as a peacemaker?
Sure.
Before
Aloha.
we get off of the aloha, that's right.
That's right.
Let's try to. I want to know what you do for fun. What you do for fun?
I still got young children. My two daughters are they're back there behind me. The picture was taken a few years ago, but they're 9 and 11 now, and my oldest daughter's in college. I'm trying to spend as much time with them, and I left Washington D.C. to come home to be with my family and to raise my young daughters, and also be a good, as best as I can be, husband to my wife who didn't marry me to raise two kids on her own for 18 years. And so coming home gave me an opportunity to do that. And so we do a lot of fun things together. My personal time, though, Gary, is spent working out and trying to do my best to stay in shape. That's kind of my world, where I get to disappear into the gym and often, even though I'm working out, I do a lot of thinking in there too. I love running through downtown Hilo early in the morning as people are waking up. You can often find me on a Saturday morning doing that. But that's what I do. Just spend time with the kids, and you only have this chance where they're 9 and 11. They still jump into your arms. They still want to cuddle with you at night, and they still want to hold your hand. My 21-year-old, she's moved on from that now, but my little girls still want their daddy around, and I got you only have one chance to do that, Gary. You're grandpa now, and I'm not quite there yet, but that is one of the most important things in our lives is spending time with our children while we can. And so I'm fortunate that coming to OHA gives me a chance to do that, because frankly, probably any other higher level position in the state would not allow me to spend the precious time I have with my children.
Right on.
Do you have any advice for anyone watching who might be considering running for OHA? It's a huge statewide race. It depends on name recognition. What's your advice for someone who's interested in maybe running?
We got 5 OHA seats open in 2026. I'm not going to say they're open. Each one of them may be run by the current trustees in them, but five seats are up. A number of them are island specific. Some of them are at large. And so I'm not sure what my current trustees are going to do in terms of running for re-election in 2026. That's their choice. And they'll come to that decision probably sometime in the spring when candidates across the state start filing. But if you are interested in running for OHA, we'd love to have you. Aria, I'm a big believer in competition, and competition is a good thing. And if you want to run, you run. I ran for governor because I felt that I could lead the state and that I could do a good job at it. People of Hawaii thought differently. They elected Governor Green. We support him, and he's doing the best job he can right now. But competition is a good thing, and I don't think you should hold back if you want to run. Makes everybody better. And so if you want to run for OHA, there's a number of seats available in 2026. And I'd probably start there, and probably start on the Office of Elections website and the Campaign Spending Commission website, because those are two important state agencies that either will make or break your successful or unsuccessful run at public office. And I do believe we need more people running for office. You know, there's that national group out there called Run for Something, and they became real big after the Trump first term, and that effort helped elect a lot of people to both local office and national office. Run for something, and there's a lot of lessons learned from that as well. And if you feel like you want to run, and you're ready to step into the public space of being an elected official, then run. And you know, it's very meaningful to be able to be a policymaker and to affect change in the life of your community in any elected office. And so I would encourage anyone out there to run for something.
Well said. Yeah, I was speaking to someone today, and they said, "Well, why would I want to run? It's a thankless job, and it's this and it's that," and they were like beating it up. And I said, you know, I haven't found it to be a thankless job.
Yeah.
I found it to be very meaningful, very fulfilling, very gratifying when you can help people, when you can help your community.
You know, there's that famous quote by President Teddy Roosevelt. That's man in the arena. And it could be woman in the arena as well. You got to get off the field. You know, you want to get off the sidelines, get on the field. Know that it's not going to be easy, that you're going to open yourself up to public scrutiny. You got to have thick skin. I got rhinoceros skin, like I like to tell my family, the toughest skin in the world. There's not much that affects me anymore. But you got to have tough skin. You can't be in it for the money. It's got to be values driven, mission driven, na'au driven. But if you have the passion, you know, serve in elected office, and that's a great way to give back to your community. Anyway, this is great.
Yeah.
So,
Do you have any?
By already.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. It was you know, a good dose of education.
Yeah.
A good dose of personal look into who Chair Kai Kahele is, you know, and yeah, got some questions and discussion. It was a good hour. Do you have any like closing wrap up comments you want to make, or are you drained?
Yeah, no, just appreciate the opportunity. You know, look forward to coming to a community near you. If you feel important that this military lease lands issue is important to you, visit our website alohaina@oha.org. Get educated. Watch one of our community informational listening sessions, whether it's in person or online, and you know, reach out to me. If you got a question, email me. I'm at kaik@oha.org, kaik@oha.org, and I'd love to get your email. I'd love to get, you know, in touch with you if you have a specific issue. We also are distributing $6.1 million of emergency relief aid that OHA is doing right now for those individuals that are Native Hawaiian beneficiaries and have been receiving SNAP benefits, or were federal employees that were either furloughed or having to go to work for the last 42 days without being paid and meet a certain income threshold. We have financial resources for you. You have to be registered in OHA's Hawaiian Registry Program, which you can also see at oha.org. And so, yeah, shoot me an email, kaik@oha.org, if you need something, and either myself personally or my staff are happy to help and happy to support.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Good to connect in face to face, even if it's remotely.
Yeah.
And all the best to your family.
Thanks so much. You guys have a wonderful night and have a great dinner. Aloha.
Great. Aloha.
Good.
That was good.
I like him.
I know. I do too. I learned a lot, you know. Yeah, I learned a lot. And you know, he's a leader. There's no question about that. He's born to lead. I knew his father not well, but I knew his father was well known, highly respected in across the state. And I remember when now Chair Kahele first got elected, and a lot of high expectations given who his father was, and he met and exceeded those, in my opinion. So it's good. Oh, we should. I haven't done the disclaimer yet in terms of there aren't any organizations supporting us. We're still working as volunteers. Um, just you and I, and nobody pays us to say what we say or to invite the guests or whatever.
Yeah, just here on our own accords, which allows us to say what we want, talk about what we want.
Yeah. And if people want to know more about me, go to garyhooser.com, or garyhooser.blog, and you can hear my blog. And I would really appreciate it, anybody watching, to share this. If you're watching it on YouTube or watching it on Facebook, share it with your friends. I think tonight's show, especially, there's a lot to learn in terms of OHA. It's a mystery to a lot of people. And so you can learn, like I did tonight, a little bit. That's all I got.
So, pivoting a little bit, there's been some new, the new news about the unidentified lawmaker who allegedly took $35,000. I think the last time we spoke, we had just discussed that the state had sent out letters to the Attorney General, State Attorney General, and the U.S. Attorney General asking what the status was of the federal probe, and if the state could look into it. The recent update, is that the U.S. Attorney General responded to Speaker Nakamura's letter and shared that there is still an investigation ongoing. Wanted to clarify the bribery offense that is spoken about is unrelated to the $35,000 in a paper bag.
And wait. In a paper bag? So $35,000 in a paper bag was given to somebody, a legislator.
Yes.
Oh God, you can't make this stuff up. This is like.
So, with that said, the person who is being investigated for a bribery offense is not the legislator. So, in my view, that means that there's at least a severe campaign violation, because under no circumstances should anyone be accepting $35,000 for a campaign. I think that exceeds every campaign spending donation limit, whether it's a PAC or, a campaign donation or whatever, and especially in cash. I don't think you're allowed to accept that much money in cash.
No. Yeah. This is. I would encourage people. I'll give Civil Beat a shout out. I think there was something in there today, a kind of an update. And if people want to learn, this is major follow up on a major corruption that's been haunting and lurking and rearing its ugly head in the state legislature in the past 4 years or so. I'll give a shout out to Speaker of the House, Nadine Nakamura, who represents the North Shore of Kauai. I worked with her on the council, and we don't always see eye to eye, but she had the whatever courage or foresight or whatever you want to call it. She's followed up on it. She's responded to public concerns, and her own legislators are probably concerned, her own House members, and so she did reach out to both the federal and state legal entities doing these investigations and asking questions, which inherently puts pressure on them to do it and elevates the conversation in the public eye. So thank you, Speaker Nakamura.
Representative Andrew Garrett published an op-ed in Civil Beat yesterday talking about he feels that the investigation should be done as a totally separate entity than the state legislature. But his suggestions were that there has to be something done, that this is a cloud hanging over the state house, and points out that more than half of them were not in office at the time this happened. So to have this big cloud hanging over, the last three legislative sessions is like really detrimental and really unfortunate, especially because I wanted to point out that our other Kauai representative, Senate President Ron Kochi, has said nothing, silence.
Yeah, it's radio silence, which is not a good thing in my opinion. I mean, he has his reasons, but people want to know. This is somebody accepted $35,000 in a paper bag. Call it what you like, campaign contribution, bribe. They accepted $35,000, and that's hanging over somebody's head. I can't imagine. How could that person sleep at night, tossing and turning, thinking their name's going to come up tomorrow in the news? Yeah, it's bad news, and it hangs over everyone. I thought this is kind of a funny but not funny thought. We'll just go make our list and have everyone say, no, it wasn't me. And then see who doesn't answer, see who's left.
It kind of is like a guess who game,
Yeah.
There's only so many people that it could be.
They might be in office now, or they might not be in office now.
Yeah. Rep. Kim Coco Iyamoto, also, she wrote a letter to the editor today that was published, and the ending, I think, is very pertinent. It says, the refusal by Democratic leaders in Hawaii to commence an investigation into this corruption feels similar to Republican leaders on the federal level refusing to release the Jeffrey Epstein files. Is it that bad?
Yeah, no, and if people who haven't signed the petition yet, that petition link is, I know in the Civil Beat stories, it's there. And you've got it there. On the screen, it says tinyurl.com/HILEGBRIBE. For those of you not looking at the screen, maybe just listening, tinyurl.com high legal bribe, and sign the petition, please. I guess a shout out also to two other representatives who made some noise publicly on that. Representative Bellotti and Representative Souza, I think, right?
Souza.
Yeah. Who publicly, and they went to law enforcement and asking them to do something, and then they made that public. So more legislators could do that too if they want to instill faith in them and their own position. Speak out. Yeah, it's I was a politician. I spent 8 years in the Senate, 4 majority leader, 8 years in the council, and it kills me when people think, well, all politicians are crooks. And that's what this does. This just tarnishes the reputation and name and does harm to our democracy. It hurts us. It hurts everybody. People don't show up to vote. Why should I show up to vote? There's just a bunch of crooks. And so we've got to be diligent and calling these bad actors. I'll call them bad actors. They haven't been convicted of a crime. $35,000. Maybe there's some weird excuse for that. I can't imagine what it might be. But we've got to shine a light, and we're counting on the federal government and the state government, law enforcement, to do that. I'm hopeful that they will do their job, and in the not too distant future, this will be put to rest. Yeah.
Some other news, there's some more musical chairs that will be happening within the state legislature. Senator Carl Rhodes has announced that he will not be seeking another term for his Senate seat. And so Representative Daniel Holt is going to be running for the Senate seat. So that will open up a seat in House District 28. Also, Senator Henry Aquino's seat will be up for re-election. Representative Rachel Lamasau is likely going to be the candidate that will be appointed to finish his term out until the special election, which is the same day as the 2026 primary. So her seat will likely be up and open for election as well. That's House District 36, so Waipahu.
The Senator Carl Rhodes' seat. What neighborhoods are that?
That is downtown Liliha, Aleva Heights.
Okay. And Representative Holt is running for that. I'm hopeful, nothing personal to Representative Holt, but like the chair Kahele said, competition is good. And when you get an incumbent who's not running and you so-called open seat, for those who live in that district, whether they're a member of the House or whether they're just a private individual, this is the time, if a person's serious about wanting to serve in public office, to step up and run. So I encourage people to take this seriously. Representative Holt's seat's going to be up, and the Senate seat's up too. And I'm open to talking to people. I love to talk to people who are running for office or thinking about running for office. And so people are welcome to reach out to me. Hopefully we share our the values and core ideology. But if not, I'll still talk to you and still talk about running. So, yeah, it's good.
Still only two very familiar names running for the Kauai mayor race, Bernard Carvalho and Mel Raposo. Longtime veteran lawmakers. They've served in office for how long together and separately?
I've served with both of them myself, and I'll be frank with you, I hope we get somebody else join that race also. I'd like to see some fresh ideas, fresh energy. Mayor Carvalho has served and did a decent job. I can't remember anything bad, or I can't remember any stellar accomplishments either, quite frankly. But he's a nice man. Council Chair Mel Raposo is another nice man. I'm looking for new energy myself. Proactive progressives is what I want. Not progressives that are just going to sit there, but who want to make change happen and improve the life of everybody here.
And this week on Maui, on Thursday, the special meeting to fill the Kahului seat will commence. As you can remember, Councilmember Tasha Kama passed away a few weeks ago, and so they are undergoing the appointment process to name the person that will fill the seat for the remainder of the term. The county's policy is that I think if there's 13 months or less left in the seat, that the council appoints, and that's why they're going through this process, and it's not a special election. So they had an open call for people. The people could self-appoint and submit their names for consideration, which Leo Leo Akoliko self-nominated himself. And then Kauanoe Batagan was nominated by Councilmember Noelani Uhu-Hodgins. And Carol Lee Kamakona was nominated by Councilmember Shane Sinensi. So they will go through the process of interviewing. I believe that they're taking testimony because of the process. It's submitted as a resolution to replace. So I believe they're taking testimony in support of one of the three names. They have to pick by November 25th, or the mayor gets to do it in terms of the Maui County Charter. So the appointment process is something that will be interesting to watch. We'll see what happens.
Full disclosure, Carol Lee is a friend, and I think she's fabulous. But I don't live on Maui, but I like her a lot. So we'll see what happens. She's running anyway, I guess. She's filed or announced she's running, not filed, but she's announced. Any other hot new races coming up? Was there a poll or something on Ed Case, Congressman Case? I got an email that our Hawaii.
See if I can pull that up right now.
Yeah, I got an email and it said that they did a poll. It partnered with Indivisible, I think, and did a poll that measured the three candidates that are three Democrats who have declared they're running, and we've had two of them as guests on this show.
And the poll was that they talked about if this was the three names that were chosen, or three names. So it was Congressman Ed Case, Representative Della Albalati, and Senator Kehoho Kalole are the three people that have said that they're running. And it said, in a chance, Ed Case leads generic Democratic opponent by 7 points, with 21 undecided. And if it was a choice between just one person, and if that is a choice between Representative Albalati and Senator Kehoho Kalole, Ed Case would get 40% of the vote, Rep. Balati 19, Senator 17, and 24 do not know.
I think the margin of error is 3 or 4%, something like that normally.
Yeah.
So the two challengers are kind of neck and neck. In total, just under 40%. And then there's still undecideds. Yeah.
Yeah. And the poll asked, what is the most important thing? 74% said someone that will stand up to Republicans and Trump. 46% much more likely stand up to the U.S. military to ensure the best deal for Hawaii across land and waters. 47% said they want someone who rejects corporate and lobbyist campaign contributions. And 33% said they want someone who is progressive. 31% endorsed by many community groups and advocacy groups.
What were the first two? Oh, go ahead.
The first two.
Yeah, again.
Stand up against Republicans and Trump.
How many was that?
That's 74% of voters.
Okay.
And stand up to the U.S. military to ensure the best deal for Hawaii.
Was how much?
46%.
46. So 70-something% stand up to Trump, 40-something% stand up to the military. I mean, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, interesting. Things are just starting to, after the new year, I think things will start taking more form in terms of the different races.
Yeah, it's still early. There's still a lot of things that anyone could do. The papers can't pull papers until February 2nd, I think. So a lot of people are still kind of deciding what they want to do. I applaud the candidates that come out early and let us know their intentions. Shout out to our friend on Hawaii Island, Shannon Matson. She's having a fundraiser coming up soon. Shannon has been working at the county council under Jen Kajiwada for District 2 for the last 2 years. I think she would make an excellent council member. She's very thoughtful, always caring for her community.
Yeah, I agree. She's got a track record. A lot of people will stand up and say, I'm good because I can do this, I can do that, but they haven't really done anything. And she has a tangible track record in the community that you can point to and know that you can count on her. Yeah, she's good. Anybody else out there that, there's lots of incumbents that are running again, but I'm more interested in the new folks, we should do a show and just dedicate it. Maybe after the first of the year, we'll dedicate it and go down the list and go from there. Yeah.
So we'll be taking a couple weeks off, and we're going to get back together sometime in December before touch base again before the holidays.
Yep. And so wish everybody happy Thanksgiving. We really have a lot to be thankful for. I mean, really. We talk about the stress and bills and illnesses and whatever, but when you put it in perspective, look around the world, we're pretty fortunate here.
Absolutely.
And so to all our family and friends, take care. Aria, you take care, and we'll be talking hopefully between now and then. And so, yeah, it was a good show.